Good morning. It's story time. Interesting story time at that. So, over the last maybe 3 months, but really, probably my whole life, but just focusing on the last 3 months, I have been randomly remembering different experiences I had as a child and realizing how sinister my entire supposed blood family has been towards me. And I knew they were, psychotic and abusive and whatnot. But the level that I'm now piecing together that I couldn't have when I was a child because of what happened, what transpired in my life, of depravity of the mind and their will and their body towards me is something and has been something that I am so grateful that I can see and know that it has never had anything to do with me, and it never would have. It's solely on their end. Before I went into foster care with Theodore and Joanne Gray, I had lived with my mother, and she knew that my 5 older brothers were raping and molesting me, and also that they were on drugs and that they used me to pay for drugs when they didn't have the money to pay for drugs. So in that instance, she also knew about the trafficking, and she never protected me, ever. And regardless of any excuses she can proffer of she didn't know, she did know. Because yesterday I was sitting and I remember being in the house on Gunsmith Way in California, and my older brother Matthew had just sexually assaulted me really bad, and it had hurt. And I told my mom, and her response to me had been to turn around and smirk and laugh and say, well, now you know, welcome to my world. She didn't say she was going to call the cops. She didn't offer to report it. She didn't offer to even keep him out of the house. Nothing. And I felt in that moment so terrified because I realized that I was just a piece of meat to this family. I was not a person. I didn't have any rights. I didn't have any value. I didn't have any worth. I meant nothing. They didn't care. And as that's sinking in, I remember the door opening and Matthew walking in, and he was still zipping up his pants, okay? And my mother turned around and laughed and said, oh, she thought I was going to save her. Why don't you tell Richard to come in? I think she needs to be disciplined. And I was yanked out of the room very violently by Matthew. And then I was taken to my other older brother and very violently sexually assaulted by him, after which I slept for 2.5 days straight because it was so painful what he did. And when I think about those experiences, the fact that my mind is intact that I can talk about them, then I can look back on those times and fully understand that none of that energy compelled towards me had anything to do with me. It all had to do with them and the fact that they wanted to stamp out any innocence I had. They wanted to break me. They wanted to break my mind. They wanted to portray me as deserving of what they were doing because they did not want to be held accountable. I am so happy with how strong I am. That even in the midst of that, I was able to, as a child, look those monsters in the face and tell them many, many times over that I knew the monsters they were, and I was not afraid. I was not afraid of them. I was not afraid of what they could do. And I would overcome, and I would have a good life. I would have a happy life. I would find somebody in my life that cared for me, truly loved me, and would protect me. And they always took that to mean a person, but for me, even as a child, in that experience, even though it happened, I understood, even at that age, that the person I found was God. And I'm not talking about the Christianity or, just God in the energetic form. And every time I would bring up to them that the day they stood before God on judgment, they were going to melt. They were going to be unable to deny what they had done. Every last one of them, it was like the demonic energy that they carried and held inside of them would just come out. And they would go to hit me, and there was almost like an invisible wall that would slam them back away from me. And I would see fear in their eyes when they realized that they couldn't touch me when I spoke like that. And the reason that I'm doing this video is because sometimes we don't realize the power, the inherent power in the words that we speak. We think, when I say God's with me, or when I believe God's with me, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to feel the presence of God, that, it's not going to show up in that particular way. But I want to offer you this particular thought stream. If you believe that words are not just sounds formed and vocalized out of your mouth, that they're the energy and the essence of energetic currency, if you will, then please stop to realize that words are very powerful. And when your mind is simply focused on defending yourself and standing up for you when no one else has, your words have an immeasurable power to literally separate bone from marrow, flesh from bone. And your words create the capacity for miracles to happen, for the unknowable to become knowable, even to those who don't believe. And especially even to yourself, because all throughout my experience with my mother and my older brothers, as well as my younger brother Eli, no one has ever defended me, protected me, heard me, listened to me, believed me, even when they saw firsthand what was going on, when they walked in on it and they saw the blood coming out of me. And if that is the situation that you're in or that you've been in, and you are walking through the battle of how do I compartmentalize that and still be present in the life that I have and go after the life that I want and build the life that I want, understand that it's not going to be a pretty process. You are always going to have people around you that say you're negative and say you're dark because you talk about the realness of your life. You're real. You would rather be real than fake. Because in you being able to step into the place of real healing requires them, in their minds at least, to honestly adjust or readjust their life view of themselves. And they don't want to do that. They would rather be comfortable in their comfort zone of being a victim rather than someone a crime has been perpetrated against and making the choice to heal. And being that what it is, all you have to do is understand that your healing is your healing. You can share it with the world, you can share it with other people, but if they never see any value or component of value to it, okay, they don't have to, but you have to, because you have to live with you. You have to live within the choices and the ripple effects that your choices make. And so accepting that you process life different then isn't such a hard thing to accept. It's very easy, very, very easy, because you realize that, everyone has those experiences in life where they don't necessarily feel like, that's a bright, shining experience people want to hear about. But everyone has those traumas and those baggages and those scars that they carry around invisibly with them. And however they show up within them, to a large degree, is what dictates their life. And so just, thinking about that and creating this video for the channel, I just want, whoever is listening to this to understand and get the concept that healing is not a one-size-fits-all. It's messy. Sometimes it's chaotic. Sometimes it's disorganized. Sometimes you have those moments where you're bored because you've healed, and it's like, okay, where's the variety in the monotony? But those moments of boredom are there to remind you and to show you what you used to do when you felt bored, which was to go back into very old patterning that is not beneficial to you. And the challenge now is to continue to apply pressure to your own internal mechanisms to not do what you've always done and to continue to do differently so that you gain a different result and you build towards the life that you want. And it doesn't mean that the boredom or the sense of boredom goes away. It just means that you realize how much you've changed. And when you have people from the past that run into you, they're not going to know what to do with themselves with you in regards to you, because this is a person that they've never dealt with, that they said would never exist in this way, and yet now you do. And I would suggest that you keep that door closed to the past, but your choice is your choice to make, and it's on you. And just continue to move forward and continue to heal, continue to be the type of person that you would have trusted as a child, that you would have felt safe with, and to spread that out into the ethers of humanity so that people who don't have that, children who don't have that, and adults who were children who didn't have that, can feel empowered looking at you and say, if this person can do this, then I can do this. And I'm going to try as much as I possibly can to exhibit the kind of authentic truth that I see this person exhibiting, and allow myself to be freed from the shame that this thing happened to me, or that my family has rejected me my whole life because I speak up, I speak out, I don't mince my words, I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And when I tell someone that they will never see me again, I mean exactly that. You will never see my eyes again. You will never be able to have the benefit of looking in my eyes. You will forever wish to speak to me, wish to be around me, and be unable to satisfy that, because I will not allow it to ever be fulfilled or satisfied. So that's kind of story time for today. A little bit longer than I expected, but that's okay. I hope this finds you, and I hope it helps you in the way that you need it to be helped. And I hope that this gives you some food for thought throughout the day, and that you are able to really get to the meatier part of it, and maybe journal some thoughts about it to help you get some emotional baggage out and release it and let it go. And that in due season, in due time, you can look back on this story time, or this realization, epiphany, whatever it is for you, and see how conscious you were in an unconscionable situation, and to understand the strength within that, and take that energy forward into everything that you do in life, that you're a part of and you participate in. All right, I will see you on the next video.